Yes, a good wand. It is made of elf.
It's like you work at
Smegma.
Universal Studios.
Yes, the foreskin of a troll.
And my wand is made of Pete Davidson's under eye skin.
No, there's much to do with that.
My wand is made of $60 US. Which is how
Oh,
much I paid for it.
very strong. I
Straight to
can
Universal.
feel its strength.
Well, welcome to Funhaus, everybody. On this week's episode, we're going to chat about Fantastic Beasts and the cash grab of Grindelwald.
Got him.
Got him. This episode is sponsored by Mack Weldon, so thanks, Mack Weldon, for bringing us here this week. And I'll tell you a little bit about a magical offer they have for you later on in the show.
Magical.
Fantastic breasts and the grind upon your balls.
There you go.
It's for underwear. Yeah.
Right?
All right. Yeah. I'm all right.
The
with
grind
that.
upon your balls.
I get it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm Daniel. I've got Elise, Bruce, and James with me. Are you guys muggles? Are you no-mages? Or are you can't-spellers?
What's the difference between a muggle and a no-mage? A muggle is a no-mage who can do magic.
Oh, is that right?
Isn't it? A muggle is a human who can do magic?
I thought a muggle was
like
just
Hermione?
I think they're all the same.
No.
No, but a no-mage would be someone who doesn't do magic at all.
I thought a half-blood was somebody who was
Half muggle.
Bruce.
half muggle who could also do magic.
And then there's
Yeah.
a squib, right?
What's a squib?
Isn't that someone that
Friend of wizard
No,
that
isn't that
can't do
someone
magic?
like how
yeah.
Filch is? He
Yeah.
is from a magical family, magical parents, but
Oh,
he has
right.
no
Can't do
magic.
magic.
That's the worst. That'd be
Yeah.
the worst. Because, like, Hermione she has two human regular
They're dentists.
parents.
Her parents are both dentists.
But
She could do magic.
she can do magic, so she's
Yeah.
a muggle, right? But her parents are not muggles?
I
Or they
got
are
you guys on the
muggles?
show because you're supposed to be Harry Potter experts.
I mean, she is.
I thought a muggle was a human that couldn't do magic, but I
Oh.
could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I got us a little off
So
track.
Hermione isn't a muggle.
She's a witch.
She just got muggle
I think she's
parents.
just a witch, yeah.
Got
a
it.
witch.
Got it. I'm there.
I'm not sure.
Now I understand.
We were here for the movie, right?
Yeah, sing the theme song, Bruce.
Fantastic
No, do the
Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts theme song.
I don't know.
Like that, right?
Like I'm there
I don't know.
again, wherever it is.
Before the show, James asked me if he could have a soapbox for a moment.
Oh, great.
You didn't get me.
Isn't every show the James Soapbox moment?
I wasn't
Yeah,
in
I
the
know.
last episode
Isn't that what he's-
where you
He's
guys
been
unfairly ripped on that movie Overlord.
Sure, whatever.
No, it was a good movie.
I just wanted to say something because people are getting on us over negativity. And I think they're misinterpreting what film criticism is.
Yeah.
Number one, I want to address the fact that we have never, ever changed our opinions on a movie or expressed our opinions on a movie or something discussed on this podcast or any other podcast for money or because we were in a bad mood that day.
No, I've never
Sure,
done
yeah.
that.
I am in
Which
bad
is something
mood.
that we were accused of that really bothered me. It really bothered me when I saw that.
No, yeah, I would never do that.
Two, generally Dan or whoever's producing it, right, or has in the past produced it, goes around and tries to find someone who has a perspective on it that's positive or negative to
true.
make sure there's a large
A
swath of
balance,
it, a
yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works out, like Jurassic World, where Don wanted to come on
was
and talk
excited
about
about
it,
it.
and we gave him a platform to speak about that
Yeah.
movie, okay? And like, I feel like we didn't diminish his opinions. We shared our own,
I would
and he
agree.
shared his.
I would agree.
But in other situations, like Venom, there's no one at the whole office who liked it.
We all, I mean, like,
we
I
can't-
think a lot of people saw it, and I wanted to come away liking it, and I didn't.
We can't manifest someone who doesn't.
I feel like sometimes we're trying to like bad
Yeah.
movies.
I am
Yeah.
usually
Absolutely.
trying to.
I also just think in the idea of criticism in general, you can come here and watch us review a movie, and you can agree with us, and you can feel better about what we thought about that movie,
Sure.
and if it aligns with what you think about the movie. But I also think that if you come here and you disagree, if you liked Overlord or you liked Venom, that's totally fine too. And then now this can just reinforce your own enjoyment of a movie that you liked.
Yeah, you're allowed to like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
That's
you
no
can
problem.
listen to it and you can not care because we're probably going to make more jokes than we're actually going to make criticisms anyway because we're not film critics.
But we just like movies.
Yeah.
Well, we like movies.
Yeah, we
I
like-
paid a lot of money to go to school and learn about how they're made and study
Yeah.
the history of them. That doesn't make me an expert by any means. Oh, your
My sorting hat.
down.
Bruce has a great hat, so he's valid to talk about
So I,
this.
I think we're sandbagging this a little early.
I
but,
just wanted to say because people have been trying to do their damnedest to invalidate our
by saying we hate
opinions,
everything
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time.
which is unfair because we don't invalidate theirs.
I liked The Predator.
There you go.
I was the only person that was like, I had fun.
And I wasn't on it to rip it to shreds.
Well, and I think honestly, Hollywood hasn't put out a lot of great blockbusters in the past couple months.
It's true.
Well, I mean, we got
or even
Infinity
years.
War, which everyone
Infinity
forgets
War's
that
amazing
basically
film.
everyone
Awesome.
loved.
Man, it's so
It
good.
might have ruined all of these other movies that could have been maybe better by comparison.
But yeah, I also think another inherent nature of this podcast is to get people to watch. And if we all went out this weekend and watched Widows, we would
I heard
probably
that's
come
good.
in and say something good about it, but none of you would watch it.
I know, I hear
Because it would be a podcast about widows.
But we all know Harry Potter.
But everybody
everyone
knows
knows.
HP.
Yeah.
Well, even
HP.
though HP is not in this movie.
no,
Not yet.
It will
could
be.
have used a little dose maybe.
Definitely will be.
So yeah, Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald was part 2 in a 5-part series. Prequel pentology.
Is it
as
really
it's known.
5? They said 5?
Pentology. Oh, that's what Rowling said, and no one's
They could
corrected
do
her
10,
in a couple
honestly.
years.
They could do 10.
But yeah, I thought the movie was a little aimless. It seemed almost like the characters were vamping, like they had to kill some time on stage until the real act, came out of the bathroom or whatever.
Hold on, Dan. Why don't we set up what this movie's about?
Oh, that's going to be
I mean,
hard
no,
to
I'm saying,
do.
like, before we
luck.
get into it, Crimes of Grindelwald is a story. It's a continuation of Fantastic Beasts.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
a story of Newt Scamander's
Yeah.
trip to New York City, where he accidentally.
Are you summarizing the first film?
Yeah. Well, you got to set it up
Okay.
because that way it'll make more sense when we describe the plot of this one and how
Will
they
it?
ignored most of it.
Yeah, will.
I actually wish I had watched the first movie.
Oh, you hadn't seen
before.
the first one?
No, I'd seen it. I hadn't seen it since it came out, 2 years ago.
got it, okay.
And I was a little lost, and I had to remember who some of the characters were because I didn't care last time, I guess.
Well, you're already going in negative.
I mean, I know James didn't care. At least, did you like the first one?
I thought it was fine.
I thought it was
I didn't
fine.
really, being a big HP fan, and again, I'm a big fan of the books. I'm pretty. Some movies I like more than others, but I thought it was just like okay. I mean, Dan, did you like it?
I think I might have
one?
liked it more than anyone else in the room.
I disagree with you, Dan. I really liked
Bruce
it.
likes it a lot.
I liked it a lot.
I
saw-
also didn't dislike it.
yeah, well, it was kind of hard to dislike, but I saw it in the theaters, liked it, and then I saw it again on whatever I downloaded it, and I liked it a lot more actually. I was like, wow, this movie's actually better than I remember it being.
But
So I was really excited for this one.
There's something they've established their own movie language. They've got their production design, their costumes, their little world. It looks beautiful. I don't know. I love production design. One of my favorite parts of film. So anytime a movie looks cool and everyone looks great in it, I'll excuse it a lot. What is going on?
He's trying to catch his
catch
fish.
it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, this movie, it was too much plot and like no story to care about. There were all these different groups of people moving around the world, jumping from city to city, and there was really no story behind it at all.
I disagree with Dan in the sense that I was all right with all the things happening across the world. I thought that was cool, and I thought it was leading up to a really big climax, which it wasn't. But regardless, I thought it was, and I was excited to learn about all the new characters at the very beginning of the film. And so it was the opening with Grindelwald where he escapes prison was very, very cool. I was super into that.
That for me was the best.
It was
Maybe
awesome.
the best part of the movie.
Yeah, it was
I
awesome.
thought that was so excellent, and if I had seen that and I was a little kid, that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Him,
Pops in the
him
window.
floating and him
Yeah.
floating through the prison, and that would have scared the bejesus
It
out
was
of me.
super, super scary. Actually, yeah, that's a really good detail.
Oh, when he was,
in
like,
I
prison.
thought it was great. I
Yeah.
thought that was the most well done part of the film, and if that tone and consistency had continued, I would have been.
I was very excited for it, and as the movie dragged on, 'cause that's literally what happens.
It did.
As it drags on more and more and more, I realized it's just a lore dump. That's all it is. It was basically just giving us a bunch of exposition to 3 more movies we're going to watch,
Yeah.
or at least I'll watch. And that was a serious problem for me because I saw The Hobbit. And I love that story. Obviously, I read the book, and I love that story. But I hated that first movie because it was a lore dump. It was just like basically a bunch of things establishing a world we were going to get into later, but not now. That's why this movie bothered me.
There were a lot of times while I was watching it where I was like, this is probably better explained in the book. Right? I would like watch it and I go, this is probably way better explained in the book. But then I keep going, there is no book.
There's no book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It feels like there's one of the bigger ones of the Harry Potter books, like getting up to Order of the Phoenix size, like full-size book. Here, that was adapted into this movie.
There's no direct adaptation, but there's source material that all these facts that are cobbled together in a movie are pulled from in the different little windows you get in the Harry Potter books to the past, when it speaks to Grindelwald or it speaks to the Dumbledore lineage or whatever. And in the books, those just feel like really interesting tidbits, and you really are excited to. To me, those are not a story though, and you want a compelling story within which all of that fits in. And this is just not like a super compelling story to me.
I think J.K. Rowling is brilliant. She's come up with this wonderful world, has really great characters.
A world architect.
She's not a screenplay author, though. She writes novels.
Sure.
And I think this movie feels like that. There's all these great little bits that you can't hang on at all, and they all feel important because it's a movie. Every minute matters. So, when you drop a little tidbit, it feels like you're leading people. But when you drop 100 tidbits and they don't go anywhere, there's no sense of urgency at all in the story.
I'm sure she's the screenwriter, so she's partly to blame. But I'm also going to drop this on Warner Brothers executives because this felt a lot like Batman v Superman.
Oh, interesting.
Where they're trying to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
And instead of focusing on what's happening now, which Marvel generally does really well, focuses on what happens now and then thinks of a plan on how to build upon that later. It felt like it was focusing on what's going to happen later, which is a really weird thing to do in a movie that you're watching right now.
Yeah.
And it's not like the next one's coming out next week. Like, they can't be Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. And even that, no one says, oh, I love Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions because they rely so much on each other. But like, it felt very much like it was working to set up the next one. And to me, that seems like somewhere there's a dry erase board that a bunch of development executives say, you got to hit all these things here because we have 5 more movies and we're not going to give you more time to like figure out how that's going to work. And so it did seem. This is another. I talked about it like a long time ago when we were talking about Doctor Strange, where I'm like, at a certain point, we should start switching the credits.
Oh yeah, for the visual effects.
Because people? The visual effects people like had more care and love for this world than the development executives that are going to get their brand new yacht off of how much this makes in the box office. Yeah. They're going to lay off half the special effects team. But then all the WB executives who don't know what the hell's going on and are just loving that people are buying tickets for this franchise that they own are going to buy new yachts or whatever. They're going to buy a Vine Dragon or whatever.
What's a Vine Dragon?
The thing that he goes in.
Chinese. The thing that he trains, the kelp dragon or whatever.
It was very jarring sometimes moving from scene to scene because it would seem like each one existed in its own moment. I think the best example of that is you're already like a little bit into the movie, kind of the ball has started rolling, and then Newt is home, and then out of nowhere, Jacob and Queenie show up.
The retconning was just
they show up. And then explain that the events of the last movie didn't actually happen, or they happened.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. It didn't take, which is already okay. That's bad improv, but like you kind of shit on that, and then they immediately create new conflict for them.
Yeah, they did.
Which seems weird.
Literally right away.
Yeah. Like, and so I was like, I don't even care. Like, you didn't give me a chance to care, but it was so worried about getting to the next thing, getting Queenie to the next place where she needed to be to do the next thing to the next thing.
Their disagreement also seemed a little trumped up. Like, I feel like it's something they could have come together on if they talked about it at all.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because they weren't really disagreeing with each other in a lot of ways. Like, his argument was, well, we can't be together because I'm human.
It's illegal.
And you're witch, and it's illegal. And she goes, it's only illegal in America, but we're in London now. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're crazy. Yeah. Like, what, about you being a baker in London? Like, I don't
She's
like,
pretty
solve the problem.
Yeah. And then she's like, did you just call me crazy? And then she storms off, and then that's it.
Which, if that was a big breaking moment and she can read minds, and that's something that's been on his mind before, would she not have gotten mad about it
Oh,
At
that's a
some
good
other
point.
point when she read his mind.
I mean, like, those are, it's interesting you ask those questions because I don't ask those questions in this world because there are so many things happening magically around everyone that it's hard for me to answer all of those questions. So it's more of just like, I'll suspend my disbelief and move on.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Maybe it's something he thought, but he never actually vocalized. And she was like, it's just something he's thinking, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to explain it away because one of my major problems with the movie was at the very end, the climax, there's explosions and dragons and fire and everything coming out of the cemetery in Paris. And I'm always wondering, what about the rest of the world? Do they know about wizards and witches and stuff like that? Most of the time they don't. Are they going to obliviate all of their memories in Paris? That to me is more of the larger problem where I'm like, there's so much magic happening in the real world.
Yeah.
How does no one know?
Because at least at Hogwarts, you can kind of like assume that it's contained to that location.
Yes.
But when it's on like busy, and I know there's stuff where, you know, when she goes to the street festival and she kind of goes through this portal, and you're like, okay, well that's happening
okay.
in like a hidden realm.
Yeah.
For
But
me,
this was in a cemetery.
the most offensive thing to me was just how, like, the exposition dumps, especially the dialogue exposition dumps, were just so clunky, and didn't feel at all genuine or natural to anything going on. Like that just felt like bad or rushed writing, and for me the world can easily have, because people are such huge fans, you can have stuff that is fan servicey but isn't so in your face. And that's why I would have preferred, and I think you can also get more across, like if you don't have to make every single exposition a line of dialogue, but you have just more stuff happening around and the audience has to take it in tacitly and understand what that all means, you can get through more stuff in less time.
Yeah, I was. It's interesting because a lot of the times for worlds like this, especially this movie, I was really excited. The exposition dumps I enjoyed at the beginning. I was like liking it because I was like, cool, you're telling me new stuff.
More world.
Cool. And then after about an hour, I was like, where is it going? Like, what am I getting from this film? Just specifically this movie.
It paid off nothing.
It paid off nothing.
It was a big setup, and it farted at the end.
I just wanted the movie to pay off along with the exposition. I wanted both, which is very hard to do, by the way. It's not easy. And I unfortunately got tired of the exposition after a while. So some people don't. When I saw it with Autumn, and Autumn was like, I actually liked it more than the first because we learned more about the world. And I could see that. That makes sense to me. But as a film, to me, it didn't feel like a self-contained movie that I enjoyed.
All I could imagine was all the Harry Potter Wikia editors frantically trying to keep up with what happens in this movie, not only adding, but also now they're like, wait, does this break what this is?
Yeah.
Like, because there's some stuff in it.
I went on Wikipedia after we saw the movie Thursday night, and then I went on Wikipedia after, and the plot was not there yet, and I was like, oh man, because their brains are probably exploding.
You don't know how it fits in. It's going to
do.
conflict with everything, like a bad computer program. I also think that just in terms of like, this is in 3D, right?
I think so. I think
I didn't see it in 3D.
I didn't see it in 3D.
I didn't see it in 3D.
I'm
but
pretty sure
it's
it was
being released in 3D because this is like one of the first movies to come out in maybe the last 10 years that I feel like is like also in 3D. There's like a lot of moments where it feels like some character goes, hold on, let me get that. And then it cuts to them and they go, and then pull it back like in a lot of ways. Like we just saw it in a trailer where for no reason other than comedy and maybe 3D, like that little thing that really loves gold pops a champagne,
the niffler shoots out,
and then and it comes, whoa! But it's like, okay, that's funny, but it's also like, is that just a weird
like
3D
the
stunt
Muppets.
that kind of happened?
There were some really strange perspective shots at the beginning. Do you guys remember that at
Well,
all? Where they were like really close on people's faces.
And they were looking into the lens. So I thought it was so weird.
You brought that up, and I was watching for it because you told me before I saw the movie, and I saw the movie. I liked that only because I was like, oh, I think they're trying to get at the fact that being Newt Scamander is hard.
Yeah.
To me, so meaning like growing up and like I get a little bit of an Aspergery thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Around him, and I think that's the point.
Yeah.
I think that's why Redmayne's playing him that way. So that's why they keep showing those really close up because that's the way
that's
it feels.
how he perceives it.
That's the way it feels.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
Although I wouldn't have been looking for it otherwise because you warned me.
Yeah.
So when I was looking, I was like, okay, I think they're getting at the fact that it's hard to be him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know how to react. He feels awkward all the time, et cetera, et cetera.
That makes sense. It is weird though because it feels like those are like he's already playing it that way. So like putting him taking the audience and putting them right in those shoes is like jarring, and was very jarring for me. You explaining it that way makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But it would be like every single time Dumbledore had a conversation with like someone, when it cut to his perspective, it was like all gay.
Yeah.
Everything's shiny.
I get it. Like it's an attribute of who he is, but you don't have to make everything about that perspective which is a little weird.
I have a really hard time rooting for or really being interested or caring about any characters in these movies. And I think Hugh Grant is fine. Oh, Hugh Grant, my God. I think Jude Law is fine as...
Hugh Grant should get in this.
I know.
Get him in.
Probably
I'm sure
will.
he will, yeah.
He'd be a good young like Slughorn. I think he is fine as Dumbledore, but my biggest problem with Dumbledore is I don't think any movie has ever really done Dumbledore right yet. Like I don't think the old guy was like jaunty enough. I think Michael Gambon was like too angry, and I think Jude Law like because now when you juxtapose Jude Law in his 3-piece gray suit next to like old Dumbledore in his nightcap, and you're like, when was he like, I'm gonna wear those?
When you give Wizard up,
I'm gonna wear those pajamas all the time. Like he went from the suit to that, and it's like I don't know. To me, the Dumbledore in the books is just so like he's got a little bit of mischievous twinkle in his eye, and he's really wise and compassionate, but he's firm, and I don't know. Unless you guys disagree and you see
I feel like he was a schemer almost in this movie. Like he's manipulating, especially Newt. Like I feel like he's playing him like a fiddle almost.
Like at the beginning when he's like,
he does for like reasons that they sort of explain in the movie, which is he can't move against Grindelwald, and we find out why.
Yeah, Grindelwald.
And it makes, I mean, like to me it made sense. But you're right, he does seem. Initially, he seems like he's like Newt, you just gotta go do this thing for me. Sorry, bye, and then he leaves. You know,
I really like Jude Law. I also really like Johnny Depp, but they were both barely in the movie, and like when they weren't doing a whole lot.
Well,
so I was just gonna say I liked Jude Law as Dumbledore. I felt like I see what you're saying, but not having that relationship with book Dumbledore, like he has kind of always been like he's got like 3 or 4 backup plans, but then to your face he's like, where's the bathroom? Right? So it kind of made sense that I could see this like he was like a James Bond type. Like when he was younger, but then grew into this. Also, by the way, as soon as I hit like 65, I'm going to be in sweats like, all the time. But so like I could see him growing up to be the movie version of Dumbledore, but maybe not the book version.
I think he played the Michael Gambon version of Dumbledore.
A little bit
I think Jude Law was like,
Yeah.
I'm looking for Michael Gambon. That's where I'm heading.
So I did kind of like seeing him as young, and I thought Jude Law was charismatic, but
Yeah, I
also
think
was
he always
kind of
is.
like
Always is, yeah.
not his sexy. He was like asexual charismatic, which is different for Jude Law.
Yeah.
And I was also going to say, we were talking about this earlier, Johnny Depp, the only crime of this movie is that he's not in it more.
It's true. Johnny Depp was amazing.
He just didn't have anything to do.
that IFB working overtime, being in his lines.
Well, I think him being in what he did have in this was good.
Yeah, we're talking about that opening scene, which was really dope.
It's great.
This is the best wacky character that he's played, like pale, weird-looking contact lens character that
got a
he's
few of those,
played
I
in a
guess.
really long time. And I thought he did a really good job.
He did.
I was like, when it revealed him as being Grindelwald, I was like, we're trading Colin Farrell for Johnny Depp?
I was worried.
Really?
Yeah, I was worried.
But he was great. I actually and he gets a lot of screen time at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought he held those scenes together.
His monologue at the end, where he's kind of spoiler alert, but he's sort of appealing to wizards and witches and trying to get them on his side. That monologue swayed me a little bit. Like I was sort of like, it was like one of those things.
You're a
where
human, Bruce.
Start carving out your throat.
No, like it was interesting because it was like, gosh, he's got a lot of really good points. And then you remember, oh yeah, that's right, he killed a baby at the beginning of the film.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't do it.
That was that
he
to me
didn't
was
do it.
great because they were like, oh, we need to make these people look as evil as possible.
Yeah.
Let's kill them. And I was like, all right.
And they killed a baby. I know. And I actually like that stuff. I like when the movie gives you motivation to hate the bad guy. But regardless, at the end when he delivers that monologue, I was like, I'm in.
He's charismatic. If nothing else, he's charismatic and he knows how to play that whole
I think that's
political card game.
One of his powers is to be charismatic and to get followers and to convince people of things, whether they should or not do what he thinks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Queenie her biological sister?
They don't seem like sisters.
Well, so he's
right?
like, I'm looking for my sister,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
they don't seem like sisters at all.
and the other one's like, I'm looking for Newt. I'm like, who are these?
Their relationship is also a little hackneyed too.
Were they in a scene together in the movie?
Yeah. Well, they went to the archives together.
Oh,
but
that's right, yeah.
It was like she kind of hates your guts now, and it's like, why? Because some paparazzi posted this wrong wedding photo.
Yeah.
Of
That was super convoluted.
and I was
Yeah, I know.
but then it ended up not mattering because when they did, he was like, oh, well, I have to find her and tell her, and then ultimately got distracted doing something else. And when he did find her, they like explained it, and it was it. And I was like, that was like kind of like
It was loose.
unnecessary conflict.
It was
They
very
could
loose.
she could have just been devoted to her job.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe she didn't think to pick up the phone and call him when she came over to Europe because she's a very good special agent of the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah.
There was stuff like that. I also think the movie's called Fantastic Beasts, and there's probably some nerd like the guy who needs to assign homework who raises his hand every like 12 minutes in the movie and goes, where are the beasts? Because like we were talking about it earlier, like at the beginning there's a lizard for like
For
no
no reason.
reason,
There's a
and then he
horny
throws
toad.
it out a window,
Yeah.
and then and then like later on, like Newt has to go down and take care of all his animals until he doesn't have to anymore, and then that doesn't work.
He has Bunty to do it for him.
Bunty.
Oh, yeah,
There's,
Bunty, poor
there's like
Bunty.
a scene where there's this guy who pops up, a mystery figure pops up and lures Newt somewhere. And he's like, go right in there to like a prison cell. And he goes in, he slams it, and he's like, I tricked you. And he's like, now I have to escape. And he passes out. Like, it was like weird stuff that like someone was going, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And then that immediately goes to like, there's like one point where it hard cuts from them being underground somewhere to Newt in the middle of a street surrounded by people trying to stop a giant cat
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, it was like some of that was jarring. Like there should be in between scenes that are like, by the way, now we're shifting back to the Fantastic Beasts movie before we come back to the rest of the Crimes of Grindelwald movie. Because
You bring up
running in tandem.
the moment where he stopped the. I guess we're going to be in full spoiler territory now.
Okay.
Oh, spoilers!
Do you want to do an ad break?
Yeah,
and
I was,
then come back?
going to
we
ask, is anyone wearing their Macs right now?
I am always.
Always. James is always wearing his Macs because they're better than whatever you're wearing right now. Mack Weldon believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. They've made the online shopping experience a breeze. You can have new underwear and socks ordered in just a few minutes. Mack Weldon's underwear are easily the best I've ever owned. Mac days are the best and freshest days of the week. Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants that you will ever wear. They have a fantastic line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial. They eliminate odor and stink like magic. Mack Weldon wants you to be comfortable, so if you don't like your first pair, you can keep it, and they will still refund you, no questions asked. Not only does Mack Weldon's underwear, socks, and shirts look good, they perform well too. They're good for every occasion, whether you're hunting down an evil wizard, seeking your lost family legacy, or just trying to round up a bunch of wild baby nifflers. We have a fantastic and beastly offer for you today. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off using promo code FILM. It would be a crime if you didn't. So thank you, Mack Weldon, for sponsoring our episode today. Spoiler time.
Spoiler
Sorry,
alert.
I just wanted to talk about my favorite moment in the film was when that cat dragon is loose in the city and he pulls out his little jingle jangle.
Oh, it's great.
That was the best moment in the movie for me.
It's great.
Yeah.
It like spoke to Newt's character, who I really like Newt. I think he's an interesting guy. Maybe, he's special in his own way, but he loves animals and doesn't necessarily want to be in anyone's side in this big war. He just doesn't seem to care that much. He cares about people, but not like
Politics.
not
power.
not
Yeah, he
your
doesn't want
bullshit
power,
power
yeah.
moves.
Yeah.
So I think he's cool, and that was just a perfect Newt moment. He used his special knowledge of animals to solve that problem, and nowhere else in the movie did he use his. I guess except when the Niffler stole the thing at the end, whatever that little MacGuffin was.
Oh, yeah.
But even that wasn't like Newt went, I have an idea.
Exactly. Like, he didn't use his power at any point in the movie in an interesting way. And
That-
by his power, I mean his, special skills and knowledge.
That was my
with the
biggest problem with
beasts.
the first movie. Was I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get these two stories, but we're going to see how important what he's been doing in the city is going to be to the end. But then, he confronts Credence as he becomes this giant Obscurus, which he's the one who has knowledge of, and he's like, I know how to stop this. Fails, and then everyone fires it with lasers until it blows up.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh, well, that's the better ending is he does something to stop it, right? Like his knowledge, they were going to use force, but it was his knowledge of these exotic creatures that allowed him to use finesse.
Just talking about this now is starting to make me realize that the reason that it's called Fantastic Beasts, and then we're also getting into the Crimes of Grindelwald part of it, is they're finding a way to work Newt into the conflict. So they needed another character that was, not a Gryffindor. I don't know if he was a Gryffindor or not.
He was a Hufflepuff.
Was he Hufflepuff? They needed
Isn't that
another.
what that color is?
They needed another good wizard.
Isn't that what yellow?
Yeah, yellow's
thing is?
Hufflepuff. He seems like a.
They needed. Yeah, he does seem like Hufflepuff. They needed a good wizard to get into the conflict, but not be another. Like, not be a Theseus, who's his brother, who's like this puffed up chest, like, I'm going to go in and kill him.
Yeah.
And that's what Harry Potter was. Harry Potter was the same way. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict, but every time it came up, he's like, well, I got to help. And so he would help. So that's what Newt is. And I guess that's why, because I'm betting, like, by the fourth movie, we're going to have one beast that will help, and that will be it. And the rest will be Grindelwald.
It's probably going to be the Obscurus.
Nagini will transform into full beast by the end of.
I'm going to blow your mind right now. Fantastic Beasts might not refer to the creatures in his suitcase. Maybe
the humans.
it refers to us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
All
you're
of
right.
us.
I
We
never
are
thought
the
about that.
Fantastic Beasts.
and where to steal their money.
Do you think that at the end of the fifth movie, Newt will do something really impactful, and then they'll go, unfortunately, we have to remove any knowledge of what you've done today from the history books, Newt.
They better not.
You'll only be known as the author of this obscure textbook that's handed out in schools.
Please don't show up the next time everyone's really in trouble.
No, I think actually, now that I think about it, I think Newt's going to die. And I think Newt's probably going to die sacrifice. I mean, he must.
I think Newt will settle down with whatever woman he's in love with.
Lita?
Sure, and he'll go to a farm
probably
somewhere
not.
with all of his creatures.
Isn't it Tina?
Tina. Yeah.
Tina.
I'll say Lita
And then
didn't
he'll
make
die.
By the way, he has no chemistry with either of those women.
Anyone in this movie,
That's what,
really.
That's what Autumn was like. Why do they love him?
I know.
I mean, he's cute and
It's like
clever.
Mr.
but
Robot for me, where I'm like, what do these women see in him?
Yeah.
Lita,
Exactly.
Lita,
He's warm.
Well, Lita had that flashback was like, oh, he was the only one who wasn't an asshole, but it's because he had autism.
Yeah.
Like, and so
It's
that's
'cause he
kind of
cared,
like,
he cared about
Yeah.
people, but
And, like,
well,
don't-
he cared about animals.
And animals.
Even
Teach-
she's like, God, it was so amazing watching him like touch that caterpillar and ignore me all day.
to teach
There
a
it
generation of young people to be interested in the person that's just not an asshole to you. It's like not a good
Not the best.
message to send.
Tina, though, they work for me because they both seem so asexual and not
sure.
interested in each other.
Yeah,
They're
they
like,
do, yeah.
oh, we should get married and sit next to each other all day.
It's really weird because I find Tina very attractive in real life. I'm like, wow, I'm really attracted to this woman. And then every time I watch her in a movie, I'm like, I'm not attracted
Which
to you
one's
at all.
Tina?
boring.
You know why?
She's the American. She's
Okay.
the
Aura.
yeah.
It's because she looks like she's always going to cry. No
Bruce.
matter
Like
what.
that?
No, I think you don't.
Oh,
in the movie,
oh,
she
okay.
always looks like it's like.
Same with Eddie
like,
Redmayne.
we have to go into this. Yeah, we have to go into this archive and get the documents out, and she's like. I think that's kind of a turnoff.
Lita Lestrange, is that?
Yeah,
Is
Lita.
it Zoe Kravitz?
Yeah.
I like
She was
Zoe
great.
Kravitz a lot.
I like her
She's
too.
Cool.
She's a good actress. Her character took up so much of this movie.
Well, because they had to tie in the Lestrange stuff at the end.
Why?
So
It
I don't know.
was a big red herring. The
That's-
whole thing, half the
Yes.
movie was a red herring that made no sense.
I didn't think about it till just right now, Dan. You're absolutely right. How did the Lestrange
'Cause
thing factor in?
I think more Lestranges in the next one are going to come after
Okay.
for whatever Newt did to her. Like,
But
they're
they
gonna-
don't like her.
But I mean, Lestrange is Lestrange, I bet.
No,
And
except
they-
that they said in the movie specifically that a Lestrange is not a Lestrange.
must have-
That's why the dad wanted to send him away.
I think Elise is right.
I think they're going to still have
Maybe,
a chip
yeah.
on their
I think
shoulder.
they're going to be like, eventually it's like every Lestrange is bad, and they're going to say, they're all bad, and then Alita's going to turn bad.
I think it's a bad sign if in the middle of the explanation of your movie, one of the characters in the world of the movie has to pull out a family tree
yeah.
show you
A
on
magical
the family tree.
family tree.
Like that should be a red flag for like how the plot is unfolding a little bit,
It was-
maybe.
I do want to be positive, though. I thought all the perperformances in the film, every single one of them were great.
Yeah.
I actually
Yep.
really liked Jacob.
Yeah.
I've always liked Jacob.
Yes.
He's great.
I
The
liked
acting's
Flamel. I liked all of these characters.
I liked him, but he was also pointless.
Pointless,
right?
worthless.
It was just fan
it's
service.
just a nod to the
Fan
books of like,
service.
Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, it's fan service. But again, every actor, I thought every actor put out their heart and soul in every single role.
They did.
And I appreciated that. I liked it. I mean, like, because Eddie Redmayne, I don't like Eddie Redmayne generally, but he's I think he's really good in these films.
He's good as Newt.
I'm starting to like him, yeah.
R.I.P. Tiny Woman.
Very, again.
Life too short. Life too short in so many
we
ways.
go special credits.
Tiny Woman. I'm going Tiny Woman.
We were at the Grove. We were at the Grove.
Yeah.
And there's a giant banner for Crimes of Grindelwald, and like the middle is Eddie Redmayne, Johnny Depp.
There's 30 people on this
poster. There's a bunch
poster.
of people, but then off to the right is Tiny Woman.
Tiny
She
Woman
made the
there?
poster, and then also bad guy special agent.
Oh no!
Special agent.
He like remember he slinks from
bounty
the shadows,
hunter.
and he's like,
Oh, the bounty hunter.
Newt!
Yeah, that's right. The bounty hunter. Yeah.
I'll find Clarence.
But then, like, I was like, "Wow, good for them!"
Yeah.
Tiny Woman and the old guy got met on the poster.
Also, Ezra Miller, fantastic.
Yeah, he was great.
As Credence. I mean, like, I actually really feel for him in this movie, and I'm like, I feel bad for him. I generally feel very bad for him.
You know, I thought he was a great Flash. I really,
Yeah, I did too.
I really liked him,
I did too.
and his off-screen persona is really great. Like all his like couture fashion that he wears to
puffy
all
dress.
the
Oh, is it?
yeah,
Him dressed as a
he's-
bunny or whatever?
Yeah, he was dressed
It
as
was in Playboy.
Toadette
I
at
didn't know he did that.
Comic-Con or whatever.
That's
He
cool.
just seems like a cool dude.
Well,
So
yeah.
real quick, I think this is a horrible thing for a teacher to do.
A boggart?
To a student in front of the rest of his class. It's
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
let's show everybody what you're afraid of.
I mean, that's-
and watch you cry in front of
I've said it before.
It's
Hogwarts
awful.
is a terrible place.
Yeah, no, it's
If you lived a terrible life, a sinful life, you will die and go to Hogwarts. I think back to it should go special effects people.
They're
Who?
great.
We
Special
get through,
effects are
we
very
get through
good.
all of them.
They're very good.
Then you do casting director.
yeah.
Because the person who cast this movie did a great job. Then you go through a bunch of other accountants or whatever garbage. Then you get down to the bottom. Then you go maybe J.K. Rowling,
Yeah.
and David
David
Yates,
Yates.
And Tiny
and
Woman.
then Warner Brothers executives. Tiny Woman's up at the
Oh,
top.
yeah, she made it at the top. I felt bad when she died. Spoiler.
You beautiful baby.
I was actually really sad for Ezra Miller and for her.
I like when Ezra Miller was like, "You killed my tiny woman."
That was really cool special effect too when he exploded the
see,
top of that house.
And just like in the first Fantastic Beasts, you didn't see it, Dan?
No, I saw
I did.
it.
He liked
You
it.
did.
hasn't
Yeah,
seen it
that's
recently.
right. I apologize. The Obscurus is the coolest part of Fantastic Beasts, and it's the coolest part of this second film too.
It's really cool looking. I have the same problem with the end of this movie as I did with the end of that movie, in that it turns into a big CGI fest
Yeah,
of
I
two
know.
CGI monsters smashing against each other, and
Yeah.
it's not compelling.
Well,
it's cool to look at, but it's not compelling at all.
I thought the Grindelwald fire was way cooler when he's standing in the center,
Whipping it.
directing it, and then like Theseus and Newt are like batting
He's
it back.
conducting it.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, you're right. The fire dragon thing at the end, meh.
And he acts. It seems like he accidentally killed Zoe Kravitz with the blue fire.
It
or
looked
she
like
killed herself.
That was weird because that scene was like, those who are faithful to me can cross the fire.
They can make it.
Who true believers can cross the fire and join me here, and then I will. I guess that tells you where to teleport to magically. Which, by the way, there's a lot of teleporting in this.
Yeah, there was way too much.
It was weird that
It's
he
called
was like,
apparating.
he was like,
Is that what it is?
Yeah, a lot of pork. It's a lot of apparating.
It's too
he's
much.
like, he's like, I have to figure out how I can get to Paris without my passport. And then he goes, "Pff."
Porky.
Yeah, well, I mean, but even without that, he's like his discussion of like, how am I going to get to Paris without my passport?
it was dumb.
And then it shows him and he goes, and he's teleporting everywhere. I'm like, magical barriers, maybe.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
But yeah, it appears as though there was this fire, and if you tried to cross it, but you weren't a true believer, then the fire would consume you. But in her case, it was weird because she just said no, and then burnt up. Like she was on the other side of the fire. And so he was just kind of like, "Oh, fuck off," and then he was like, "Don't fire."
So I think the reason she was in this movie, right, and they built her up as this huge character and wasted an hour of my life on her, it was to kill her to make Newt make a choice and choose a side.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Right. So that was the whole point of her character. But then, if Grindelwald didn't kill her and she kind of committed suicide in the evil fire, I'm not sure that whole choice is justified.
That's valid. I know what you're saying. I think, yeah, you're right. I think you're right, Dan. I think you hit it with the first point there, which was she died and then mobilized Newt.
And
Right. Well, which
again-
was his whole arc in the movie was like finally force him to make a choice and choose the good guy side. And I don't know. I think you could have done that with something else that
A
didn't
tiny
take an
woman,
hour
Dad.
of the movie.
Sometimes this is the difference between a good book and a good movie,
Yeah,
right? In a good book, you can just have a character float in and out of it, and you get used to that character, and you enjoy being in their shoes or following their journey, and then at the end they die and you're sad, even if it isn't part of the plot necessarily. Which, because like, for me, when I watched Goblet of Fire, and then, what's his face, died at the
Cedric.
end? Cedric Diggory
Yeah.
died at the end. I was like, who? Like, the guy that kind of bullied him? Like,
Yeah.
like I was, but everyone who had read the book was like in tears.
Yeah.
Because they had more of a relationship that lasted more than 90 minutes.
Right.
Like
I
I
bet,
did.
yeah.
And I think that's a symptom of this. It's just weird though, again, because there's no book.
No book.
I bet if this was, the movie was adapted to a novel, but I would love it. Just
Yeah.
such elegant prose and even more backstory, and then you'd probably have fantastic details of the action scenes
Yeah.
as opposed to CGI.
I would agree.
Blasts. Like, I bet it's great.
You spent so much of Harry Potter tucked away in Hogwarts, which is great for confining the story.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're like traveling the world. Like, I want them to make more so I can see what magical Egypt
Russia.
looks like, or Russia, or like all those things would be fucking sweet.
Agreed, but they
to
didn't
see.
necessarily capitalize on being in Paris.
That's
in any
true.
way.
They showed the Eiffel Tower.
They did show the
I mean,
Eiffel
Paris
Tower.
is awesome, beautiful place.
They did like
lots of neat stuff.
one street corner.
Yeah, well, and there was one cool like under the bridge seeing Notre Dame, but I don't know.
Yeah, and like, what is this supposed to take place?
1920. I thought it was 1927.
Was it? Oh,
It was like right before.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
It was like basically he was.
pre-World War II.
Yeah, it's pre-World War II, and it's like right after World War One.
What is he wearing?
But there's a flashback in the movie.
That's what he should have worn as
purple
Dumbledore in the
1906 or
movie.
whatever.
There is a flashback to earlier Hogwarts.
Like, that's what
Which is
a young
weird.
gay Dumbledore would have
He
worn.
would.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
purple shiny shirt.
Jude Law's shirt. He's wearing John. It's like John Smith, the way John Smith dresses.
It's weird though because they go to Hogwarts and then they do a flashback of Hogwarts.
Other Hogwarts.
And Jude Law's there and he looks the same.
He does look the same. It's true.
Which is like,
Yeah.
I guess wizards age differently.
Well, he's supposed to be old when he dies. Is that right? How old was he?
He's over 100 when he dies.
Dumbledore?
He's like
Isn't he like
100
110 or something?
110.
No, he's more than that, I think.
I don't know.
I don't
Because
know.
it's like Voldemort's hunting for like the secret to long life, but like Dumbledore lived for fucking ever. Just do what he did. You would have been fine.
It's sweats, baby. Once the 60s
cloak.
drop, you hit sweats. So it was weird. And then it also had like McGonagall there. And so
More fan
you had
service.
just seen
Yeah,
her
that
in the
was-
regular Hogwarts,
Yeah.
and then you see her in the flashback, and she's the same age too. So it was like, it was weird.
I went and read up on that, and like everyone's flipping out because they're basically like, if McGonagall was there, that the McGonagall that we know, then J.K. Rowling's canon is wrong because J.K. Rowling said she was born in like 1935.
But
or
you
something.
suggested
It
that
could
maybe
be. It
it's
could
her
be.
mom.
It
Like
could
a
be
sister,
McGonagall's sister or
mother.
mom
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. But I mean, and so it's not spelled out because they're like all the articles I read is like, I can't believe J.K. Rowling fucked up, and I was like, J.K. Rowling very rarely fucks up.
doubt
Like,
it.
I don't know that she fucks up very
Yeah.
often.
I assume there's also other people that are paid to like.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure that stuff
that's
works.
Oh,
That's a
sure.
small detail, though. The movie ends with a twist.
Yeah, let's
That
talk
twist
about the
that
big twist at the end.
Huge twist.
must have some sort of device like that isn't fully revealed to make sense.
Yes.
Because that doesn't make sense either.
No.
If it's what it appears to be, but it isn't necessarily because the movie doesn't commit to anything.
So
which is my biggest problem with this whole franchise.
It's a big spoiler, big spoiler. So don't just turn it off if you don't want to listen. Credence is Dumbledore's sibling.
Grindelwald tells him
Well,
that that's what.
well,
it is.
that's what they
Grindelwald
say.
tells him,
He
and
says-
Phoenix shows up,
shows up because
and he says you are related
Yeah, you're
to the Dumbledores.
Yeah, did he say brother or father? Or
I don't, he says
anything?
you're Aurelius Dumbledore, and I don't know. I don't know if that's like the thing is if he's named like all the other fucking Dumbledores, Aberforth, Albus, and Ariana, then I stands to reason for
Yeah.
me that he's a brother.
Doesn't
But I could be wrong.
Didn't it seem strange when Newt met Dumbledore for the first time and called him Dumbledore the whole time? It's like,
Not
that
Albus?
makes sense for
Oh, yeah.
I,
Oh, I
I
see
was
what
like,
you're
should
saying,
we call
yeah.
him Albus?
Yeah, that's true.
I guess he was a
Albus.
student,
He was a
so he has
student,
like
yeah.
a weird relationship.
So so Credence is whatever related to Dumbledore somehow, and everyone like online was shitting themselves because they're like, this can't be because again the ages don't work out. If Credence was 18 in this movie, and Dumbledore was 4.
Credence. So Ezra Miller said in an interview, he is not the writer, he is not canon, but said he was portraying a character who was like 18
Yeah.
in Fantastic Beasts or something
Yes.
like that. Something. So then this movie takes place 6 months
Right.
afterwards.
It's like, it's very, very soon
And
after.
someone who's way smarter with way more time than we have, or most people should have, did the math and figured out that there's no way that could have happened because Dumbledore's timeline means that
Right.
either his mom cheated on her husband well after menopause.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
there was like weird, like people had done math and they're like, I don't think that makes any sense. And also, I don't know.
So probability that Johnny Depp's just lying to him, because he was doing a lot of lying and manipulating
Could be
throughout the movie.
But also, Credence gets his wand at the end and like sends this giant
Oh, yeah.
shockwave out of his wand that explodes.
Explodes a mountain.
And to me, again, I was like, okay, maybe he is a Dumbledore because Dumbledore is obviously like magically inclined. So possibly, I don't know. Maybe he's a half brother, or maybe he's like. And this is where I started. I was like, time travel.
But
Like maybe time travel? I know. I was like, oh no.
based on the movie and how it's revealed plot thus far, it's a little concerning.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes they'll do things and then the next movie will start and they'll go, whatever. It was actually something else. And, you're
And
like,
this movie is just so like in your face with all the nothing's subtle, right?
Yeah.
Everything's said in dialogue.
They spell it all
So
out.
I feel like if there was time travel, you would see some character and there would be a close up of the time turner
Yeah.
or is time turners,
Something
right?
like
They're
that. Yeah, I
called?
think it's called time travel.
Around their neck, or like I don't know. It just feels like it's so on the nose about everything else.
Yeah, no, I that's at least that's kind of why I took it as fact because
Yeah.
everything else was spelled out perfectly for you, telling you what happened, when, and why. And so I was like, okay, he is a Dumbledore. But Albus has never talked about it. Never talked about it in a long lost.
Having a secret long lost brother is pretty lame.
Yeah, well, and see, that was the thing is that maybe they were like saying, well, maybe it's a half brother that was adopted or given
Sure.
given up for adoption, and then he didn't know about him. So maybe that's what happened because he was immediately put into a home where that woman abused him for years. So that might be it. I don't know. Again, there was a lot of questions, which is cool.
yeah.
But I didn't like the movie very much, so I was like,
I
"Ugh."
mean, you have to answer a question before you're allowed to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And they did give answers, but sometimes it didn't feel as satisfying as you might have liked, especially given that there's a whole franchise of really good movies that preceded these that felt satisfying.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Just that whole quest to figure out who Clarence's family was,
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't
Credence?
care. Credence, whatever. I didn't exactly.
Yeah.
I had a hard time being into it because I just didn't care.
There's little I
he could
care.
be related. He could be Voldemort's son. Okay, whatever. It was uninspiring to be the entire thrust of the film.
It also feels like it's a shame that it needs to tie itself so closely to the events of Harry Potter's universe.
well, it's like the complaint everybody has with Star Wars and the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why does it always have to be a Skywalker?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the Oz Great and Powerful. You remember Sam Raimi's Oz Great and Powerful?
Yeah.
How it's like, okay, you guys, you don't need to set it up so it goes to Wizard of Oz. No one cares. You can do whatever you want, right? Everyone said that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
just like
good.
that.
So, what was the pendant thing that had both of their blood in it? Are we
what it
supposed to
was.
know what that is?
That's what it was. They showed us in the mirror.
It was a promise to each
not
other
fight.
that they would never
It was
fight.
a blood
Okay,
promise, which
so
is
that
why
thing keeps them from fighting each
Yeah,
other.
so when he smashes it in his hand and he goes, Megatron, I'm coming for you, that means now they can fight.
Yeah, because they're going to fight.
Yeah.
You know that they will because they've said that.
But he wasn't allowed to, and he didn't want to tell anyone he had made a blood
blood oath.
promise, a blood oath
blood- yeah,
to.
blood
I would imagine because in the books there's the blood oaths, like
Right.
you know
Yeah.
that.
It definitely was a blood pact of some sort, but they're going to fight. We know
Now
they
they're
will.
going to fight, and Dumbledore's. think he's going to die. My guess. Next movie. Dumbledore's going to die. Next movie.
So, Elise, what in this movie did you like?
I definitely like the opening. I thought that was the best
breakout?
part. The prison break was fantastic.
Beast.
Kind
I
of stupid
like-
though to move this dark, powerful wizard.
Well, I mean,
In a
that's
carriage
such a-
that wasn't very
It's such a
heroic.
trope from so many things where
Yeah.
a prisoner is being moved, and you think that people would just go, "We're never moving this prisoner ever."
Yeah,
But
that would be
still,
wise.
Prisoners are very dangerous. Prisoners, the Joker and the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Very dangerous prisoners are always moved.
Yeah, why are they always
They
moved? Yeah.
always are moved. But I thought that was excellent and tonally, and if the movie had kept that pace, I think I would have been really into it. I liked the actress that played Nagini. And I thought
She was
her
good.
scene where the circus master is like chiding her and she's kind of like getting pissed. I was like, good for you, Nagini. Like, you show him. Like Tiny Woman, of course. I like. Yeah, Johnny Depp was good. He's better than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
They just didn't give him anything to do.
Yeah, I like you said, Ezra Miller. It's I don't think they're the movies for me, unfortunately.
That's too bad. I mean, like, I think I wanted to like this movie more than anybody else.
I did want to like it.
I was really excited about it. And
Aquaman's my movie coming out.
I know, I'm only going
doing
to
a podcast on that.
we gotta.
I know.
We're gonna have to go
You
Thursday
guys,
night.
Zoe Kravitz's stepdad stars in Aquaman.
Lenny Kravitz?
No, Jason Momoa. And I know I've been covering for that movie for a long time.
You have.
It's time to pay up. Whether it's good or bad, I gotta come to terms with it.
The trailer for Aquaman went up before this, and I was like, I'm
was like,
showing
yes.
a lot of villains.
Yeah.
There's his brother, there's Black Manta,
know.
there's a lot
I
going
know.
on.
They're not
At
letting
some
his-
point, they're jumping out over a desert,
I
which
know.
seems
I'm telling
like
you
they're
guys,
missing
I
half.
think it's gonna. I still think it's gonna be good.
Okay.
I still
We'll
think we're
see.
gonna enjoy it.
I'm only going to see
Might enjoy it.
I'm
Good.
only going to see Aquaman because of Elise.
My
She's
man.
very enthusiastic.
She's
My
the,
man.
She's the only one. She keeps talking about it. James Wan.
James
and I'm like,
Wan.
okay, I'm in. I'm going to see. I'll go see it.
Someone make the master cut of me over the years supporting this
Against my
film.
better judgment, I will see Aquaman.
Fantastic Beasts, you guys. This is the movie we're talking about. Not
Yeah,
already.
I
sorry.
know. I know.
We will talk of Aquaman soon.
This is a movie. I told somebody over the weekend. I said, "It's meh. Wait for Netflix." That's
Yeah.
what I said.
That's about where it is.
Because it's worth watching. I think on a plane or on Netflix or something like that. I think it's worth sitting down and watching because if you want to watch the next 3 movies after that, then you'll probably need to see this one.
Is it a rental?
Yeah.
I think it's a rental. I think you can rent it. You pay $4 for it. You're fine. I
HD?
paid. Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
I paid $40 for my movie tickets for this film.
What?
$40.
D-Box?
I didn't. No, not D-Box. I saw it in XD.
You get on and pay you back. That's what you do.
It'd be like, I didn't like it either. Pay for mine.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because everyone in the world's already seen it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it made more money
It made
than God.
Yeah, it made a fuck ton of money.
Which one?
This.
This movie.
Oh.
Made like $250 million.
Made
overseas.
250 all around the world. It was like 60 some here.
I'm gonna do fucking
68.
gangbusters.
It'll do fine. I mean, like I'll go see the other
62.
movies.
No,
But this is just
absolutely.
like it's just like The Hobbit, where like I saw the first Hobbit when like that was total garbage, but I'm going to see the next 2 and step on my just punch me in the balls over and over and over, and that's what happened.
I see the similarities. I think The Hobbit was a little bit better than this.
I agree.
That was
Even though
3
it has the
hours
same,
long.
it has the same problem of like you've got this story, but you got to pull it out way too long.
I'd
We don't
rather
need
watch
10
this
hours.
I
Of
think I'd
this.
rather. This was 2 hours and 15 minutes. The Hobbit, what is it? 3 hours? Is
No.
that first movie 3 hours? I don't know.
We
I'm not
watched
sure.
The Hobbit over the course of 3 sessions. We did not go to see it.
There
in
and back
theaters.
again, we were.
Yeah, we watched it.
Yeah.
We watched it
Train.
over 3 sessions, and the funniest part is when we stopped the second session. When we started again, it was one more scene and the credits rolled.
Oh,
So like we were unable to identify that the movie was coming
ending.
to an end.
yeah,
I mean, you at least knew the end was coming in this, even though it was kind of lame.
yeah.
I really do think Grindelwald needed to be more active. Like he had this kind of
Community
secret.
crimes.
Yeah, he didn't commit any.
He had this secret plan.
I didn't think he was that bad.
We all agree with him.
We've never seen him do anything really bad other than kill a baby.
Well, his
He
lieutenants
didn't kill
killed
the
the baby.
baby.
Right, his lieutenants killed the baby.
He didn't kill the baby.
It's to me, it's like kind of hard going from Voldemort to Grindelwald
It is, yeah.
because you said it's same with Lord of the Rings, like
Oh, that's true.
with Sauron and then going to the Hobbit. It's hard to go back and then have it
From ultimate evil
Yes.
to not quite.
to slightly less evil. It's tough.
That's why I was intrigued by Grindelwald because I was like, oh, cool. Like he's not totally evil. I like this, but then the more that I watched the movie, I was like, okay, yeah, well, I guess.
Prequels are always a tough sell because you know how it's going to culminate.
You do.
You know it's going to be fine.
Yep.
So it's like, well, how do you get someone invested enough?
Newt. Nifflers.
Nifflers. That's the shot you were talking about. looking
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
3D or
What do you
specifically
like-
made for 3D.
What do you like better, the Nifflers or the new Star Wars?
Oh, the
like,
Porgs?
Yeah.
I think I like Nifflers better.
Yeah, they're more fun. They steal stuff.
I would say they're also more effective.
yeah.
They are more effective. They do things.
They somehow resolve the movies.
Okay, but what about Nifflers
Well, that was
or the Star Wars milk?
Oh, the
thing?
milk. I liked. I still like nifflers, but I do wish that Luke Skywalker would drink out of a niffler.
That's good. I
Suck one of its nipples.
So yeah, the Niffler stole the little love locket.
The blood pact locket, yeah.
Did he just know to do that, or did he like
likes
shiny stuff?
Yeah,
that
well,
was
they
getting
established
hidden
in the
stuff?
first movie he likes
Right.
shiny
stuff.
things, generally gold. That's not
How did he get in there? I don't know. I feel like Newt should have been like, "Go steal the thing, guy," and then it would have made a little more sense.
If
Yeah.
young gay Dumbledore dressed like that, I would have been like, yeah, that's Dumbledore.
Duh, he's gay.
That's true. Oh, well.
All right. Any final thoughts?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of detail put into this movie. I just think maybe they got too focused on the details and missed some of the broad strokes of just like what makes a good plot good. It doesn't have to be basic, but I don't know.
I had fun with it. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, I've enjoyed the movies, never read the books, but the movie was entertaining enough just being back there, but it was a mess. Straight up.
It was a mess.
I just don't know. I can't believe it's not based on a book. That it blows my mind every time I think about it because there's so much there.
I know.
All right. Elise?
Aquaman
Trying to get
tickets
outta
on
here.
sale.
I should buy some Aquaman tickets right
All
now.
right.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a couple weeks with Aquaman.
It's true, we will.
We won't be back for the weeks in between. We're waiting until Aquaman
We'll do a
comes
few
out.
other episodes hyping up Aquaman before Aquaman.
Also, Dan, just one last thing to add. If you hated this movie and agreed with everything we said about it negatively, awesome. If you love this movie and disagree with us, we're wrong.
It's okay.
And you're right.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a movie and you can feel however you want to
It's
feel
art.
about it.
Yeah, you're allowed to have
That being
whatever
said,
opinion.
we weren't in a bad mood when we came in today and saw the movie 4 days ago.
I was so excited about it on Friday night when I saw it. I was really, really excited.
No.
No,
You wanted
you're
it
a
to be
grump.
bad.
No,
and you're
I
mean.
really wanted it to be good.
No.
You hate
wanted it to
everything,
be bad.
Bruce.
Understood.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
A lot of seats left for Aquaman.
He went, hey, you know Slash is going to be here? And I went, who? And he went, Slash. And I went, Slash is going to be here? I said, no, he's not. And he went, I said, I literally said, Slash is at home asleep. And he was no way, man. He said, no way, man. This is a Slash thing. Slash has invited us to do a meet and greet. And I was like,